let's talk about some things we haven't talked about as much. Next big one is rights. Rights granted. Okay? Under here, the big one you're going to look at is translation. All right? Translation rights are who gets to choose when it gets published in various languages, and who gets the money from when it is published in various languages. Usually, these in initial contracts, the offer is not very good because it's something, people look at these numbers and don't pay attention to these. However, this is something that they are usually very willing to bend on. In our industry, basically, you should be giving no translation rights to the publisher, and you should keep 100%. Two caveats under that. One, World English. I've talked about World English before. Some publishers are strict on the we need to keep World English rights. This will be more common with someone like Bloomsbury, who did not have an American publishing arm before Harry Potter and has been kicking themselves ever since. Because Bloomsbury published Harry Potter, but they sold the rights to Scholastic. So now they have an American publishing arm, and anything they acquire from the American publishing arm is really their biggest, they're a British company. And so they're going to say, no, we have to have World English. If we buy something, we publish it in the UK. Usually, they will want World English, but they will pay you to keep them, meaning they will pay you to let them have them. They'll up the advance a little bit. On our initial offer from Tor, they offered us World English for $5,000 more. We actually turned them down, but they did offer extra for World English. So the other one is North American Spanish. There's a decent argument, particularly among some of the YA publishers and middle grade publishers, to keep North American Spanish rights. They're not worth a terribly large amount of money, but a lot of them have initiatives where they like to translate things in Spanish through the school market and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with letting them have that.
Does North America include Mexico and Central America?
It includes everything in North America. Okay. One thing to keep in mind, though, right now, book sales, particularly for fiction, in places we call emerging markets, are very, very tepid. Brazil does have a decent publishing arm going, but basically I have not seen any other. And this is I'm restricted to science fiction and fantasy on this. I could be wrong about others, but I haven't seen any other emerging markets have serious publishing deals happening. So none of my books, even though none of my books have been translated into North American Spanish. They've been translated into Spain Spanish, but not into Mexican Spanish. There's just not enough of a market, even for someone like myself. So I did give Scholastic North American Spanish, and they didn't end up using them. The books wouldn't have translated that well anyway. But so those are two little caveats. But you should be keeping basically everything else when it comes to translation rights. All right. Another thing under here is book club. And the reverse is true on this one. Normally, the publisher keeps the book club rights. Okay. What's that?
What's the book club?
Book club. The Book Club of America. Book of the Month Club. Have you heard it called that? These are Book of the Month, Science Fiction Book Club. Anyone belong to the Science Fiction Book Club ever? These are these things you get mailers from occasionally that say, it's like you probably did it with CDs back in the day, if any of you did, the music club where you buy like 10 for a penny and then they send you one every month, right? They do this with books too. And the Science Fiction Book Club is actually one of the stronger book clubs out there. Basically what will happen is Tor will sell them the book club rights and you'll get 50%. And it'll go against your advance. It'll count as immediate royalties. And they'll sell to the book club for $2,000, of which you'll get $1,000 applied against your advance. And then the book club will release an edition. And the general argument on book club is people who buy book club books have been proven to not really buy books other places. So it's either be in the book club or don't be in the book club. Yeah, I'm sure you've heard of the Scholastic Book Club, at least, right? You've heard of that.
I'm thinking of book clubs I was in when I was a little kid.
Okay.
Those plastic things you get like
Yeah,
a book every month.
that's the same thing.
Okay.
Yeah,
Just for grown-ups.
yeah. Yep. Yeah. So yeah, it's very similar to the Scholastic Book Club where they hand around those sheets in class. This is a bigger deal in children's than it is in adult, but it's still decent. So yeah, usually the publisher keeps book club rights. Right now, ebook rights are a big battleground. Most publishers have been issued a sort of command from higher up that they cannot buy books unless they get the ebook rights as well. And most people who have had ebook rights come out that are then selling to publishers are then pulling their own ebooks as part of that deal. And from then on, the publisher retains rights. This is the big battleground, and this is the big one that the self-publishing crowd is saying this is why you shouldn't sign a contract with a New York publisher. And they have some legitimate gripes. Industry standard is 25% of net. The small presses, in order to be more enticing, are doing the 50% that everyone says should be more standard. These guys were doing 50%. Both Subterranean and Tachyon do 50%. I did not sell to Subterranean ebook rights on Legion. I retained them. All right. So Tor would probably not publish without getting ebook rights in this day and age. I haven't fought that battle. I don't know if I want to. But at the same time, I'm selling twice as many copies in ebook as I am in paper right now. Dramatic rights is the next. This is film, television, and stage. You should be keeping your dramatic rights. Most publishers, they want these, but they're book publishers first, and they will, every contract I've seen, they will bend on this unless you're part of something where they're like pitching the concept to you. There's like this thing that Scholastic did called the 39 Clues. I don't know if you saw that, but it was Scholastic had this great concept. They went to a bunch of authors and said, hey, do a book in this series. And in that case, most of these rights are going to be, it's going to be a different thing. You could imagine why, because they're approaching you. It's their property, okay? So, those are the big ones. Yeah.
About audio.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Audio. I just wrote audio. There you go. Audio. Yeah. I should have just scribbled that one. Audio. Good question. Audio rights are negotiable. Has been my experience. Almost all publishers have an audio rights group with them. Audio rights were not worth as much 5 years ago as they are now because Audible has allowed audiobooks to hit more mainstream. And instead of releasing $50 audiobooks, people can usually buy them for $10 now. So audiobooks are a bigger deal than they used to be. But audiobooks are generally negotiable, meaning you can say, well, give me a little bit extra advance, and I'll let you have the audiobook. Or keep it and sell it to an audiobook company yourself.
Now, in the negotiations, if you want, so let's say you want to keep some of these rights, are they going to try to negotiate and lower your advance?
It's possible.
Okay.
It's possible. Remember, you'll get an offer, and your offer may say, we'll give you $10,000, and here's the rights we're taking. And you say, no, you can't have translation. They could very well come back and say, well, we can't do that at that price. We'll give you less. And you have to decide what it's worth. Usually, the ones that people are a stickler on are this one, and this one, and this one. They know that dramatic rights are usually not standard, and they know that most of the foreign translation rights, other than World English, are not standard. And so if there are battlegrounds, it's going to be on audio, ebook, and World English. Yeah. Dramatic includes video games, yes. Though often it's in its own separate little thing, video games.